Hey, how's it going everybody? J-Mac here. Today's video is going to be on a fire and ice Helltooth acid cloud variation, capable of pushing up to 65 greater rifts and possibly even higher. The basic idea is that you drop damage over time effects on the ground, such as Firewall and acid cloud slow burn, while kiting the mobs through the rift and slowing them with necrosis and Medusa spiders, along with the help of the Ice Blink legendary gem. So let's get right into the build with the abilities. On the left click we have Acid Cloud Slow Burn. Cause pools of frost to rain down, dealing an initial 300% weapon damage as cold, followed by 720% weapon damage as cold over 6 seconds to enemies who remain in the area. This damage will be buffed by 6-piece Helltooth and will be cast by the mimics from the Grim Reaper Voodoo Mask. On the right click we have Medusa spiders. Throw a jar of paralyzing spiders that attack nearby enemies for a total of 576% weapon damage as cold and have a 100% chance to slow enemies by 60% with every attack. After you've dropped your damage over time effects, your slow burn and firewall, this ability will be spammed for crowd control on the enemy and decent damage being buffed by the 6-piece Helltooth. The mimics from the Grim Reaper will also cast the spiders. Next up, Wall of Death Firewall. Raise a wall of flame 40 yards wide for 8 seconds that burns enemies who walk through, causing them to take 1100% weapon damage as fire over 4 seconds. Because this rune of Wall of Death deals its damage over 4 seconds, compared to some of the other Wall of Death runes that deal its damage over a longer period of time, each tick hits extremely hard, and the damage will also be buffed by 6-piece Helltooth, along with the legendary effect from the Jerem's Bracers, and it will also be cast by the Grim Reaper mimics. The goal is to have all mobs affected by Firewall and Slow Burn to maximize AoE damage. Piranha's Paranado. This ability is mainly for pulling mobs together, so you can do the most possible damage. It especially pairs well with Slow Burn because of the small radius. The damage will be buffed by Helltooth, and again will be cast by Grim Reaper mimics. Also, affected enemies will take 15% increased damage. Jaunt gives 3 seconds of invulnerability to get out of bad situations and avoid damage. Also, some movement speed for moving between packs of mobs. Soul Harvest Languish. This gives 15% more intelligence at 5 stacks, along with 30% armor and slows enemy movement speed by 80% for 5 seconds. All around a great damage / toughness / utility spell. Next we have the passives. Graven Justice. This gives the build life and mana back, and most importantly cooldown reduction on kill. Swampland Attunement. You and your pets gain 120 physical, poison, fire, and cold res for every enemy within 20 yards. Because this build runs a two-hander, we can't benefit from the Thing of the Deep 20-yard pickup radius. So it's important to get 8 to 12 pickup radius on your other gear slots to maximize this toughness buff. Also, this passive does not give lightning or arcane resist, so be very careful around things like thunderstorm and arcane beams. Pierce the Veil. A straight up 20% damage increase, pretty self-explanatory there. Gruesome Feast. Whenever you are healed by a health globe, gain 10% max mana and 10% intelligence for 15 seconds. The intelligence bonus stacks up to 5 times. This is a very big damage increase as well as a way to get mana back. You also get some more all resist from the intelligence buff. Gruesome Feast is another reason to make sure you get some secondary pickup radius rolls on your gear. Spirit Vessel. The build runs a Hellfire Amulet for a 5th passive. This is really there for the second life. The next time you receive fatal damage, you automatically enter the Spirit Realm for 2 seconds and heal to 50% of your maximum life. This effect may occur once every 60 seconds. Next up, let's take a look at the gear. First, let's go over what the Helltooth set does for us. The 2-piece. Enemies hit by your primary skills, and in this build, Acid Cloud, Piranhas, and Wall of Death are afflicted by necrosis, becoming slowed, taking 1500% weapon damage every second, and taking 20% increased damage from all sources for 10 seconds. 4-piece bonus. After applying necrosis to an enemy, you take 50% reduced damage for 10 seconds. The 6-piece. After casting Wall of Death, will gain 900% damage to corpse spiders, acid cloud, piranhas, and Wall of Death. Now let's take a look at the individual Helltooth pieces. So we have the Helltooth Greaves with int, vit, movement speed, and acid cloud damage. We've got the Helltooth Leg Guards with int, vit, armor, and 2 sockets. Helltooth Tunic, int, vit, wall of death damage, and 3 sockets. The Helltooth Mask, intelligence, vitality, crit chance, and a socket. Acid cloud damage instead of vitality is also an option. The Helltooth Mantle, int, vit, CDR, and wall of death damage. Other options would be area damage or a defensive stat instead of the cooldown reduction. The Helltooth Gauntlets, int, vit, crit chance, crit damage. The weapon is the brand new Suwong Diviner. This rolls up to 100% acid cloud damage, and your acid cloud gains the effect of the Lob Blob Bomb rune. I went with a life per hit roll, but vitality would also be very good. You just want to make sure that your weapon is ancient to maximize damage. Focus and Restraint are the rings. Went with int, crit chance, crit damage, and a socket on both. One half of this combo will be procced by Medusa Spiders, and the other half by Acid Cloud and Piranhas. Belt of Transcendence. This gives you 15 Fetish Sycophants to tank for you and do good single target damage. The new Jerem's Bracers. Wall of Death deals up to 100% increased damage and can be cast 3 times before its cooldown begins. This allows you to cover the majority of the floor with Firewall and gives it a very nice damage buff. I went with cold damage, intelligence, vitality, and crit chance. A fire damage roll would be fine as well to buff Firewall. Next, Hellfire Amulet. In this patch, Witch Doctor has very many amazing passives. Hellfire Amulet should be best in slot for the majority of builds. I currently have int, crit chance, crit damage, and socket on the next slot. Next we have the Kanai's Cube abilities. For the weapon slot we're running the Furnace. Increases damage against elites by 50%. In the armor slot, the Grin Reaper. Chance when attacking to summon horrific mimics that cast some of your equipped skills. And those mimics have been buffed pretty much every PTR patch so far. They're going to cast the majority of our skills in this build like we've previously discussed, and at a very long range now as well. Then we've got the Convention of Elements in the Jewelry slot. This is going to rotate around to Cold and Fire being buffed in this build, and when that happens, you'll see your damage jump up significantly. For Paragon points, get as much movement speed as you need in core, and then go Intelligence. Offense-wise, crit chance, crit damage, cooldown reduction, and then attack speed. And for defense, armor percentage, life percentage, all resist, and then life regen. For utility, area damage, life on hit, resource cost reduction, then gold find. Next we have the legendary gems. Bane of the Trapped. Increase damage against enemies under the effects of control impairing effects by a percentage. And then at rank 25 you gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. This will be procced on pretty much everything all the time with the Necrosis debuff from Helltooth. Ice Blink. Your cold skills now apply chill effects, and your chill effects now slow enemies' movement by an additional 18.6%. And then at rank 25, gain 10% increased critical hit chance against chilled and frozen enemies. So give us a pretty nice damage increase, as well as some nice crowd control. Esoteric Alteration. This gives the build a ton of all resist, and then at rank 25, while below half life, your resistances to cold, fire, lightning, poison, and arcane are increased by 75%. If you're playing this build in Season 4, I would really like to try out the Bane of the Stricken legendary gem. That should be a pretty significant damage buff to this build, especially for elites, champions, and bosses. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with some more gameplay. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comment section of the video. And if you enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.